Hello, everybody. Welcome to our day early comic review show. I'm Jason,
I'm Andy.
and we're with Infinity Flux Comics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, where every single Monday, after we're done bagging and boarding the comics, we divide up the ones we most want to read, the ones we think most people want to hear about. We read them, and we do this spoiler light review show where we'll tell you about first appearances, all the major collectability reasons you might want the comics, but we'll also tell you what the new ones are about. So you know when you go to their store if it sounds like it's for you, if the story or art is sort of your style. That is our goal every week. For those of you watching in the US, happy Labor Day.
Yes. Happy Labor Day.
Yep. We work, I say that like sort of close, at a comic store. And so we're here on Labor Day, but we're reading comics and making videos about comics. So
Yeah.
it ain't that bad. So even though it is Labor Day, there's quite a few books out this week. So you see, here's the first batch we're going to go over. We have all their variants and incentives off to the side. I think all said and done, we're about to review 21 comics coming out this Wednesday and Tuesday for DC. So without further ado, what's up first, Andy?
The big one in the center. Another man who never takes a holiday. It's a new Batman one shot called Batman Dear Detective. So, yeah, this is an oversized one shot issue by Lee Bermejo, who you may know from all of his variant covers on Detective Comics. Well, that is essentially what this is. So, this is a collection of all of those variant covers that kind of form a story. You're hitting the high points of a story. So, you see Batman getting ready, climbing up a fire escape, fighting some bad guys. These were all variants for Detective Comics, and now they've come together in this one book. But it's not just that, because every few pages you have a page of a a very weird letter that has been written, and it starts with "Dear Detective," and it's someone writing to Batman, definitely someone bad, talking about how kind of talking about their relationship with Batman, their relationship with the city, all of this, but it's very cryptic, very Riddler-like, where there's some words in parentheses, some big, some small, some letters that are turned backwards, all of that. And so as you read this, you start to figure out maybe there's a puzzle here. And then when you get to the very end, it is signed, but it's illegible how it's signed. It's a bunch of weird characters. And so if you go back through the book, you can piece together who wrote this letter, and it's pretty interesting. It was not who we thought. It didn't take me long. It took me like 5 minutes to solve it. You basically just have to like look for a word that has that symbol in it, and then figure out what letter's missing from it. So it's not that hard. So you're not going to be spending all day worrying about who wrote this mean letter to Batman. But the art is incredible in this. It's a fun, other than just being a straight up art book, it's got a little texture to it. It's written by Lee Bermejo. You'll have fun with it. And yeah, I think this is just a fun one to pick up, especially if you've been a big fan of his variant covers.
Yeah, I mean, just the art alone. Like, if you're sort of an art fan,
Mhm.
that book's awesome.
And this is why this oversized edition works, is you get to see that artwork as it was originally intended, oversized, full picture art. So, yep, that's Dear Detective. And how much was this? I believe it is 7.99. So, yep, prestige format 7.99.
Okay, so we didn't, we read our stuff kind of separate, and I never know what he's doing in what order, and he doesn't know what I'm doing. But I'm doing a Batman one also. So, I read Batman issue 127. This, of course, is by the still relatively new Batman team. I think it's the third issue that they're on in um, this story arc having to do with failsafe. And so on the cover, we have Batman clenching his teeth, looking fierce, looking like he's going up against some tough stuff. That happens a lot in this issue. And I don't mean necessarily really the teeth clenching, but I mean, he is up against a very difficult villain in failsafe. But where did failsafe come from, and who created failsafe? If you've been reading the last few issues, you might know this one tells you for sure. Also, we saw Batman was in a weird sort of purple outfit, light purple outfit last issue. And for those of you who don't know, you will get sort of a catch up on what that is. He is the Batman of Zurin R, but who is he and why is he back? So this story, this actually harkens back to a few older Batman stories, Batman and Justice League stories. One is just JLA Tower of Babel. That's brought up in this. And then secondly, Batman R.I.P.
Yeah, by Grant Morrison, big Zernaw story.
So you don't have to have read those to get it. It'll tell you what parts are sort of relevant, and it also tells you, you know, what you can read if you want to learn more. But I really like this plot because when it comes to who is a good villain for Batman, how about a villain that in a way he created?
Mm.
And it's not that simple. Okay, it's not just, oh yeah, Batman, he built a robot and now the robot's coming after him. There's another level to it. And by the end of this issue, you will fully understand that. So it's just really cool to see Batman go up against a foe that it's like, how's he going to beat it if he thought of every which way to build
Yeah.
something that's just unbeatable? So I'm really digging this run of Batman. There's the backup story with Catwoman, who is investigating the Penguin's relatives. This is the finale of that, and there is something that kind of is revealed at the finale. We're a spoiler light show, so I will not say what that is. You know, it's not a first appearance or anything like that. I did forget one thing in the Batman story. He's up against Failsafe, and Failsafe is so beating him and the Bat family down, he may need some help. And there might be a friend of Batman who shows up at the end that I think everybody will be really excited to see because it's a character we don't see in the Batman title too often. So,
okay.
Yeah, very, very major DC character showing up. Wait till you see that. Okay, we've got some really cool incentives to show you. We have the Segovia variant.
Guessing that's the Harley Quinn 30th
Correct.
anniversary.
Yep, that's the Harley one. We have this Garner variant. Okay, so this one is interesting. I'm going to take it out of the bag and board. This is the Delato variant, and it's a wraparound. So that's actually, you can see it pretty well there. Like if you're in the wrong light, it is hard to see this one.
Yeah.
The Delato is really playing around with shadow and light.
But what's the secret on the back?
The back. Yeah, more sewer, but it is a wraparound. Hard to see it though. I mean, the camera's actually picking it up really nicely. Then we have this 1 in 25 In-Hyuk Lee that we're selling to our customers for $20. Beautiful rendition of Catwoman, who's been in the backup stories so far. And lastly, there is a Jock Foil variant. It's 1 in 50 variant. We're selling to our customers for $45. We got a new camera setup lately, and if it appears a little shaky, we're still working on settings here. So just
not
ignore
adjust
that.
your screens.
We'll have it fixed by next time.
Yes. So. Okay, next up for me is another new #1 from Marvel. This is Alien #1. Yes, they are restarting Alien at #1, but the same writer, Philip Kennedy Johnson, but we do have a new artist on this one. And a new story, so if you hadn't read any of the previous Alien, you can jump right onto this. Kind of like how the Predator book did. In the beginning, it gives you a timeline and tells you what years different things took place and then when this takes place. So I think that's really helpful. So you can mentally put it in the timeline of the Alien movies and comics. In this one, the Weyland-Yutani Corporation, who are always up to the best things, they are just, I mean, everything they do.
Profit is always the last thing on their mind.
Yes. So in this one, they have constructed a city of the future, which is very, I wonder if they based some of that off of Epcot at Disney, because that was Walt Disney's original plan for Epcot, was the city of the future. This was supposed to be like a utopia. But even within the first few pages, it's not. It's intermingled with beautiful scenes of this city, blue skies, and this narration talking about how great it is, and intersperses small panels of people screaming and running and trying to get out of there. So you kind of get something has happened here. Then we do jump to I'm guessing it's a nearby planet, but you see some people who looks like they have superhuman powers. They're basically flying or at least jumping very well, kind of early Superman style. They're doing art, they're doing all this, and we learned that this is a spoiler, this was in the solicitation, they are synthetics. And they have set up their own colony on this moon, and they're kind of hiding out because uh, when the military has them and when kind of the space colonies have them, they basically see them as property.
So they're like bishops.
Yeah, they're all like
Okay.
bishops, but they don't all look like him. They
Right.
look like humans,
That's good.
which would be really funny if they all looked like him. But so they are in hiding, and then a U.S. lieutenant comes to them, has a job for them. They say, "Why do we want to help you? You've never helped us." But he's got an argument, and he says something has happened to this utopian society, and because you can survive in irradiated areas, which this planet they're on is, we need you to go in and retrieve something from this place for us. And the thing is very, no pun intended, or every pun intended, very alien. So you'll have to see what that is. This is definitely a setup issue for what's to come, but I really like the art, even though in that whole description I did not mention aliens. Uh, you can get their presence. You see a lot of things uh, reminiscent of aliens in this, where you know that they are coming and it's going to be pretty intense. So I really like this first issue of Alien. I think this is a great jump on point for the series. Easy to understand, great art. So that is our A cover. We have our Magno cover. Don't recognize the name, but very cool cover. And then we have the Terrest variant. Very Giger. And then we have the 1 in 50 Ryan Brown variant that we're selling to our customers for $40.
All right, so Avengers gets another ongoing series beginning this Wednesday with AllOut Avengers. So I think this is interesting that you can see the team on here because, has there ever been an Avengers team that has Spider-Man and Spider-Woman on the same team?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe at one time New Avengers did, but yeah, it's not very
so
often.
pretty uncommon. And this isn't just the entire team. Blade, he's in this as well. So, but you can kind of see the team here. So this has the first appearance of a new villainess. Her name is Queen Arok. That is her name with an A-R-R-O-C-K, or no C, A-R-R-O-K. And Queen Arok is bringing this corrupting force called the Dark Tide with her. This series starts out in media res where Captain Marvel has already been affected by this. And so basically, the Dark Tide Force turns you evil and spikes come out of your skin. So it's Captain Marvel. She's got spikes out of her skin. You got Iron Man and Thor trying to stop her, trying to fight her, contain her. Meanwhile, the rest of the Avengers are out in space trying to deal with Queen Arok and her forces. So she's come to Earth because there is some sort of vessel that somehow made its way to Earth. The Avengers have it. And this vessel allows for people to create wormholes that they can go through. And so, of course, having this person with this terrible dark tide power with a vessel that could create wormholes and basically teleport around, that's terrible. So the Avengers have to stop this. So on the one hand, some of the most powerful ones are fighting Captain Marvel, and on the other hand, the other Avengers are trying to stop Queen Arok. This is, it starts out already going. It's a very, very fast-paced story with a lot of battle, a lot just jammed in there, but that's the point of this. In fact, what I would say is if you want a fast-paced Avengers story, this is for you. For some people, this may be too fast-paced, and I'm not just daring you.
You can't handle.
Some people will read this and they will go, you know what? Okay, but I want some slowdown. I want some characters to be developed. This is more, the characters. Here they are. Here's the action, high action. It's go 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 go. When this was initially announced, I think you might have suggested that it was sort of like nonstop Spider-Man.
Yeah.
AllOut Avengers, nonstop Spider-Man. Yes, that is confirmed. So at the end, there's a write up by the writer, and he said that he was inspired by the idea of Nonstop Spider Man to do an Avengers series that was more just like fast paced adventures than, anything other than that.
Hmm.
So that's what's going with all. That's what's going on. All Out Avengers #1, first appearance of Queen of Rock and her forces, and the Dark Tide Force. We have some variants here. Here is J. Scott Campbell doing an Ant-Man cover. I don't know if I've seen him do too many
No,
things like that.
that's really cool.
And then here is a great Scotty Young cover with Blade, who is one of the characters in this as well.
When are they gonna do like X-Men can't slow down or the perpetual X-Men?
X-Men ADHD.
So next up for me is this new book from Dark Horse called Shock Shop. It's very hard to say when you look at it. Shock Shop. This is by Cullen Bunn, who is a fantastic horror writer. I love that he's getting back into some of his horror roots and very one and done stories in this. So this is actually comprised of 2 short stories, but what makes it special is I have to take it out to show you. It is a flip book. So there's one side and there's the other side. So it is I don't know, it's kind of just a fun thing. When you get to the end of the book, end of the story, it says like, don't turn the page, flip the book over. Uh One, I don't think they want you to spoil things, but also you'd be like, why is this book upside down? So this is an anthology book. There's 2 stories. There's one about a scary camping trip, and the other about kind of some kids that gets pretty creepy. But they are hosted by Desdemona Nemu Moreau. Is your crypt keeper in this, and she her place that she's telling you these stories from is a creepy comic book store, which is really cool. Like it's got a spinner rack, and of course on the spinner rack is like all of Cullen Bunn's horror books. Um, and I don't know, there's like snakes coming out of the cracks, but there's also like action figures everywhere. It's really cool. She's a cool character design. So if you're looking for another one of those anthology horror books, I think this one's really good because it's Cullen Bunn and that's what he's really strong at. So and don't think that it's a variant if you see the other one. It's the same book, so don't buy it twice. It's the same book.
I can see some shisty shop like, oh, you like that? It's gonna be big. You should buy this variant here.
So, yep, that is Shock Shop #1 from Dark Horse.
All right, so I read Twig issue #5. This is the finale, the final issue to the first 5-part miniseries of Twig. And I have 2 things to announce. #1, the last page says it big, says it loud, what I wanted to hear. Twig will return. That is what it says. Full page, Twig will return. I'm really happy to announce that. I'm not surprised at all. It's a great series, awesome world, great character designs. The other thing is, we get the first appearance of it's sort of first cameo appearance, no words, but we get to see this character in several panels of this mushroom helmed warrior with a powerful sword who is supposed to be sort of main hero material to fight the great evil that is rising up. So this will end out Twig's journey for now, but you really get to learn what his job is as a placeling. We knew this was an important job, but we haven't really known what the full parameters
Mhm.
are. And a lot of it is Twig is not there to fight the big bad. He is real important, but he is not necessarily the main hero. He's a facet that helps the main hero fight great evil when it arises. This mushroom helmed warrior I'm talking about, he is supposed to be the guy. And I think this character will be big in the next mini
Mhm.
series of Twig. So Twig is not over. Happy to announce that with this awesome world and character designs. I'm not surprised. There are plot threads that are left open ended at the end of this. If you were hoping to see that sort of evil looking Twig character back, he's not back. I think that'll be moving
Mhm.
forward. So that's about all I want to say about the ending of Twig, though. That's sort of the main details past that, you just have to be reading it, and I'd rather people get it for themselves. So here are the variants. First off, we have the 1 in 10 Virgin variant of the cover by Kyle Strom. So that is $10 to our customers. There is the Scotty Young variant.
He's having very main hero energy on that cover.
Yeah. I mean, I have a feeling,
He
far
may
enough
be
along,
important.
Twig may end up even more important.
Yeah.
Here
This
is
so
the
disturbing.
gory, creepy, crazy Peach Momoko cover.
There's an eyeball.
Yeah, and if you can't get enough of this cover and you just want even more of it, here is the 1 in 25 Virgin variant of it for 25 bucks. I'm glad to hear Twig is coming back officially.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Does it put any date on it? It
Nope.
says okay.
Twig will return.
Okay.
That-
Well, that's good enough for me. Next up for me, we have Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths. This is number 4. I'm right. Yep, number 4 of 7. And I've really been enjoying this series. So I believe this is the first one, not a reprint that actually calls it Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths, other than just Dark Crisis. And so in this one, we have a fantastic reunion of Flash and Green Lantern, Hal and Barry, come together. They kind of poke fun at each other, but the the classic energy of the Justice League in this, I think, is great. They really feel like old friends. Other thing in this is as they are traveling through the different worlds of the Justice League owns creation, kind of their ideal world, we finally get to see Batman's what is his world that he is, I guess, happiest in. I don't really know how you describe it, but the kind of the handcrafted world for Batman, and we get a new version of Batman in that appears. And it's very. I'll be interested when they put out the Batman one-shot issue about this version, because it is very clockworky, very Gears. Seems very like regimented, kind of a play off of his own personality. We get other stuff in this, like the Justice League Dark comes into play. The main Justice League's gone. What's been going on with Justice League Dark? Why haven't they stepped up? Well, you find out what has happened with them. And there is a very important thing that happens on the final page. Something very important to the DC universe historically comes back into play, and I'll be really interested to see what that means going forward for this series and for beyond this book as well. And there's some more stuff I'll get into, but that will be when I talk about Flashpoint Beyond. They have a little bit more tying in with each other than you realize. So for variants, first off, we have this really nice Perry Dodson. Then we have this homage cover by Brett Booth. Get a lot of cool characters in there, even characters like Wave Rider, which we don't see very often. Then we have this Victor Bogdanovic variant, where you can see a little bit of that clockwork Batman in the corner. And then we have a 1 in 25 Jurgens variant that we are selling to our customers.
All right, so because we haven't brought him up at all this show, there's a new Batman comic out this week called Batman Knightwatch. This is a miniseries. It is 5 parts, and this is in honor of a new DC mobile app.
I did not know
Yeah.
that.
So there's a new, and it's not called Knightwatch, funny enough. Then it's a new DC Batman mobile app. I'm sure if you type that in, you'll find it pretty easily. It has games and other things attached to it. DC's put a lot of work and money into it, so you may want to check it out. But this comic, what this is about, how it sort of links in is you get to see how Batman and Batgirl come up with the idea for Knightwatch, which is a social media app in this world where pretty much fans of Batman who've been following him and posting on message boards, they're able to more directly help Batman in his cases. And you may ask, well, how is that? Well, this has two stories in it. The first story is where they conceive of Nightwatch, and Batman is trying to track down Clayface. Now, Clayface is a villain that can change into anyone. So he's on the run, and people are spotting him, and people are saying, hey, I saw this guy acting weird over here. And that's how Batman is able to sort of pinpoint where Clayface might be. And he sees the usefulness of having other eyes doing this. And so they kind of set up Nightwatch. The second story is Nightwatch has already been set up, and they show more uses of it as Mr. Freeze is up to some nefarious actions. So not a bad issue. I know it's one of these things where it's like it's an app, write a comic.
Yeah.
But I still thought they were both half decent action stories. You know, nothing that's going to like rewrite the Batman mythos, just two solid stories. The art looks just about like the cover. If you like this cover art, the interior art looks very, very similar. So that is what is going on. That's why it exists. That's what this comic's about. I mean, that's what our show is.
Yeah.
When you go in your store, we want you to know here's what it is, here's why it is, and here's a good part. There's no variant to it. So if you want to buy it, this is it. No variant and just a 5-issue miniseries. So that's up with Batman Nightwatch.
Is it kind of an all ages?
I would say it is. But it's I don't know. Yeah, it's definitely a little lighter than I'd say Batman or Detective, but it's like teen and above.
Yeah. Okay.
So about the same, but just I don't think it's going to go quite as dark as those.
Next up for me is She-Hulk #6. And funny enough, this cover, I wouldn't say this cover happens like this, but after you read it, you'll understand this cover. So, this could even be a moment that happens uh, off screen, but something that may come around. So, I think this book is so much fun. She-Hulk #6 starts with She-Hulk going and meeting with Patsy Walker at a like a bakery, like a cake shop. So they have I guess a standing date every so often where they dress up in really fancy clothes and go to a cake shop and catch up, eat cake, and whatever. But this time, She Hulk has not an ulterior motive, but she has asked Patsy Walker to bring her the Avengers case file on Jack of Hearts because she's still trying to help Jack of Hearts figure out what's happened to him. So it's pretty cool, that the Avengers kind of keep a file on everybody. And she thought maybe if I get this and he reads over it, he'll remember something or uncover something we didn't realize. But you only see a little panel of it, but it looks very much like the old Marvel, like A to Z, who's who kind of thing with his old costume. Really cool. And it's fun because they address Patsy Walker and Iron Man's relationship and everything
Right.
as they're here. So it feels good that this kind of fits into the continuity there. Now, when Jen Walters, She-Hulk, she never changes from being She-Hulk in this series, which I think is interesting. But she gets back to work, and of course, at her new law office, she's been told no superhero clients. You're not to represent anything superhero related because it always ends up in a big fight. Her boss even says sometime I would like to have a courtroom and the mole man doesn't dig up through the middle of the jury to interrupt things. So, but who is there waiting for her is Nightcrawler, like you see on the cover. Nightcrawler has sought the help of She-Hulk, which, she's going to have to, she wants to take the case, but she's going to have to talk to her boss about. But the reason Nightcrawler is there, I think, is what's going to be the next big story arc. He wants Jennifer Walters to represent all of Krakoa in all of their legal issues, and they have a lot. Everything from immigration onto Krakoa to just little civil disputes that they have, even to the point he says of Cyclops being away so long that they will not renew his driver's license. So a lot of really interesting things are brought up as it looks like She-Hulk is going to be representing mutants going forward. And then the other thing that happens in this is there is the continuing adventures of She-Hulk and Jack of Hearts. It comes back to that, where things may get a little hot and heavy for those two. You'll have to read it to find out what happens, but just such a fun book. Um, can't wait for the next issue because it looks like it is going to go some pretty crazy places. So that is She-Hulk number 6. Then we have a variant. This one is the Edge variant. Not the guitarist from U2, but a different The Edge.
You can't have that much talent in one guy. You
No.
gotta spread that talent out.
Well, that's what he keeps under that toboggan he wears is his drawing skills.
You have a lot of U2 knowledge. Okay, so I read Moon Knight number 15. This is another jam-packed, excellent issue of Moon Knight, just like I've come to expect from Jed MacKay. This is maybe my favorite one in a few issues, though. I really like the way that he sets up the telling of Moon Knight, which is he'll have several plot lines going on, and he will interweave them. So you get a little of one, and then a little another, a little of another, and typically they will cross over in a way that makes a lot of sense. So in this issue, Moon Knight, so lately his other personalities, he's had sort of a little meeting with them, because he's been Mark Spector for most of the series, but Jake Lockley and Stephen Grant are still in him. Well, he goes to his newer allies, all the new people that you've met in this series, and one at a time, he finally tells them about his dissociative identity disorder. And in doing that, he's telling them about, hey, here are my other personalities, and here's who they are, and you may meet them at some point. But we also get to see how Moon Knight is now incorporating them into the series. So he's trying to get after the structure, the organization of vampires, and he uses Jake Lockley and Stephen Grant and their different personalities to get intel. It's very clever how he does it. They're all so different from one another, and they have their different ways of acting towards people, of getting intel. Mark Spector, he's mainly just the bruiser of them. So this issue, you get to see the other two. So you get him gaining intel is one of the plots. You get him talking to each of his new allies about his dissociative order as another of the plot. And then the third plot is he's talking with his psychiatrist about how all this is happening. And she's digging up even more things on Mark Spector, which is really interesting stuff, all the way to where she goes over like what their favorite drinks of choice are, like alcoholic beverages. And each personality has a clearly defined one. I really like Mark's answer for why he drinks the one he drinks. It's a really interesting, funny answer. So just so much packed into one issue of Moon Knight, really good. And on top of that, he does get the intel, which is he finds out about the structure's two new assassins that were around the last two issues, I think. One is called the Nemean, and the other is Grand Mal. You get to find out where they're from, what exactly their power sets are. So just a lot of cool information, but the way it's delivered, the way it's written is great. And as far as the art, same, really good art, really good coloring that you've come to expect from this series. So just another strong issue of Moon Knight. No first appearances or anything. Just a good issue, good read. What comics should be.
Sometimes I want that more than, big issues. I want a solid issue.
Yeah, and so here is the variant by Shalvey. This one in honor of Marvel bringing back Miracle Man. There's that sort of variant series they're doing right now.
Okay, and for me, we have Dark Knights of Steel, Tales from the Three Kingdoms, number 1. Now, I read this a long time ago, back when it was originally up for order, and the thing I said here then still applies. None of the characters are little kids in this one. They may be younger, but there's no little Batman kid. But it kind of represents what this is, which is early tales of the Dark Knights of Steel universe. So this is kind of a supplemental book to the main series. And we get a couple of stories in this that are really interesting and introduce some classic DC characters we haven't seen in the Dark Knights of Steel world into it. So we have one about these three teaming up to take on a giant bat creature that has been attacking the land. So it's kind of our Dark Knights of Steel version of Man Bat, and we get to find out what does this world's version of Arkham Asylum and the Arkham family look like, which is very Frankenstein-esque. Also, we have in this uh, what is the equivalent of this universe's Robins. Not just one Robin, all the Robins. So that is another really cool story to find out the twist they put on those characters, as well as Bitewing also exists in this. Yes, Nightwing's pet dog, the three-legged dog Bitewing, is in the Dark Knights of Steel universe. And then finally, we have a story of this world's Bane. And he's about what you can imagine. He is a giant, sword wielding knight that is kind of a mercenary. Very cool story, and it's cool to see how it parallels with his actual main continuity story, even where he ends up in the end. So that is what you can expect from that. It is a $5.99 issue, so it's a little bit bigger than average,
And that's a one shot, right?
and it's just a one shot.
That's what I thought.
So that's what to expect. You've got your A cover. And I think it's really funny. They really doubled down on these characters as being kids, even though they're not kids in it. Because we also have this Dan Mora variant with little Bat Kid, as well as we have a 1 in 25 Edgeker variant that we are selling to our customers. You can ask because we don't have a price on here right now, and we'll be happy to tell you how much it is.
All right, so I read issue number 4 of the Poison Ivy miniseries. This, of course, goes to issue number 6. I think they've already announced that they are doing a second one.
Yeah, it got
as
extended.
Popular as this is.
Yeah, it's now 12, maybe.
Oh, okay.
Like yeah.
So I guess this is issue 4
What's the
of.
other series they did that with? Where they
Can't think of it.
they added more
head.
issues to it? Yeah, Swamp
So,
Thing.
Yeah. Swamp
Yeah,
Thing.
same thing as Swamp
Thing.
Thing.
So let's look at the cover. We have Poison Ivy here, and looks like she's in an office setting. It says human resources there. It says Ivy will see you now, and all of this is pretty applicable to what happens in the comic. So Ivy's on her road trip where she's trying to spread this deadly poison across the country, but she has realized that she's running low on money. People with near omega level powers running low on money always makes me laugh. But still, I'm rolling with it. That's the story. And so she gets a job at an office in this, but it seems like it's sort of a shipping office, okay? Somewhere that ships things out all over the country. Now, why would she do this? Well, maybe what they're going to ship is going to help her plan. Maybe she's planting things that are going to go everywhere. So honestly, it's pretty diabolical. It's not just about she needs money. However, it can't be that simple. Ivy makes friends with some of the coworkers, and she takes up with them against their evil and lecherous boss. This boss is a terrible person, and now Poison Ivy has crossed his path. So that's what a lot of the story is. There is a little bit more, though. There's all the visions that Ivy's been having of this green man. Well, that gets solidified this issue. What are these visions? What do they mean? Is there this green man? This really comes to a head. And what happens is going to make Ivy reevaluate what she's doing currently and maybe change her direction a little bit. So that's what's going on, sort of a major, sort of pivotal issue of Poison Ivy number 4. As far as, what she's doing, and will she keep doing it, or will she maybe go do something else for a while? We have some beautiful variants, as the series always has.
Yeah.
Here is the Jenny Frison variant. Then we have this Amy Reeder variant for Harley's 30th anniversary.
Clearly, Ivy's not as comfortable skating as Harley.
Yeah. And lastly, there is a 1 in 25 Bergera variant that we're selling to our customers for $20.
It's a really interesting one.
Yeah, her back when she was sort of Queen Ivy.
Yeah. And just one Star Wars book this week. This is Star Wars issue 27. These last few issues have had incredible covers. The one after this also is really good. It kind of is a spoiler for what's going to happen next, but just really knock it out of the park. And you know, the issue 26 was really big, sold out, went to a second printing because of some first appearance of characters. We're still finding out how important those characters are. I feel like in the opening crawl, because each issue of Star Wars has an opening crawl, by not saying something, they've confirmed that these characters are not actually related to Kira.
Right.
It just says that they're working for her, working with her. It mentions nothing that they're actually related. So I'm going to kind of take that as, you know, they're not that, but they are very interesting characters, and that is what this issue is mostly about. So in the last issue, Lieutenant Melton and his wife Bevelin were they work for the Empire, and they're on the second Death Star. And after Crimson Reign, uh, Kira has basically put out the alert. Everyone create as much chaos for the Empire as you can. And these two, this family and their two kids, basically have the biggest thing that they can do is by revealing that the Empire is building a second Death Star, which the Rebel Alliance knows nothing about. And so, at the end of the last one, they escaped in a commandeered Imperial shuttle and are heading to try and inform the rebels about this. But this picks up probably seconds after the first one because they are the closing shot of the previous issue and the opening of this one are almost the same. And it's not as easy to get away from the Empire as you think. You can't just kind of saunter out because they keep pretty close tabs on who comes in and out of that. So this whole issue is basically an escape for this family that goes wild places and in somewhere that you probably wouldn't imagine. That I'm very interested in. It's a concept I really like from Star Wars. So that is mostly what that's about. And then at the end of the issue, you kind of see how this is all going to, how these character stories tie in with Luke and your main cast. So another great issue. I think people are really going to like the story arc with these new characters. And I imagine if they weren't planning on it, just the popularity of them now is going to make them a bigger deal going forward. So that is Star Wars issue 27. We have a John Tyler Christopher action figure variant with Newt Gunray. And then we have this one, which I think is super cool. This is the Sprouse Choose Your Destiny cover with Leia. Post Return of the Jedi, Leia, we see from the flashback scene of her training with Luke. And you get a good look at her lightsaber, which I don't believe has appeared anywhere in comics before. And with the importance of lightsabers, I think that's really cool.
All right, so I read the finale, Spider-Man 2099 Exodus Omega. So this is the end of the miniseries. And so this has a really cool first appearance in it. It has first appearance of Spider-Woman 2099. And her outfit's awesome looking. Like her character design's really cool. I'm not going to show you. Sorry, you got to buy it. But her suit is mainly black. I've not seen like a Spider-Woman suit sort of mainly black like this one. It doesn't appear to be a symbiote or anything, but pretty cool character design. There's also not exactly a first appearance, but in a way. So we know this is Miguel going up against Norman Osborn, who's the head of the Cabal. He's the Green Goblin. Well, Norman has a new Green Goblin outfit, and he now calls himself the Galactic Goblin. So yeah, also first Galactic Goblin. But I thought, Spider-Woman 2099
Yeah.
is a little bit of a cooler, more important thing. So I mentioned that first. So yeah, this is the finale where Miguel is going to have to utilize all the other 2099 characters and friends he's made, the X-Men, other ones from past issues, to go up against the entire cabal if he even has a shot at trying to take them down. So obviously the X-Men were in the last issue, they're in this, but other ones from previous issues come back. Not all of them, but some do, and some are pretty important in this finale as he tries to finally take down the cabal. So that is Generalist going on. Just really cool art in this series and great 2099 character designs. I mean, I
Hmm.
can't imagine how much planning had to go into making all these new characters that they've made because they're all pretty strong.
Yeah.
So just want to let everyone know about that. And we have the Ron Lim variant with the Galactic Goblin.
Not quite as grandiose as I would think the Galactic Goblin would look,
Yeah,
but
it probably should have just stuck with Green Goblin 29, the second or
yeah.
whatever.
And the same week that we get Dark Crisis, we also get Flashpoint Beyond, issue 5 of 6. So this series is almost over. And what I think is super interesting is how much this relates to Dark Crisis. So much so that the first few pages actually don't take place in the Flashpoint universe. They take place in the main DC universe, where Mister Terrific is basically describing what Dark Crisis was. Um, it even says this takes place 2 days after Dark Crisis. So I don't think there's anything in here that's like a spoiler for how Dark Crisis is going to end, but it seems like there's a somewhat happy ending for the Justice League. They're not going to be gone forever. I don't think that's a surprise, but it's kind of spelled out in here that all is well. So a news station is interviewing Mr. Terrific, and he is basically describing to the people what Dark Crisis was and what the Omniverse is. So the Omniverse, is this new thing. You've got the universe, and you got the multiverse, and then you have the Omniverse. And he kind of addresses some of the questions people have with an Omniverse. Why is it exist? Like, isn't that just the multiverse keep going or whatever? But Mr. Terrific explains it and explains uh, what it means for everybody. It sounds really confusing. This is the most like cerebral, like high thinking superhero book that you could get when you have to like work with all of these different multiverses and everything. So that's really interesting. He even explains how the Mandela effect works in the DC universe, and yes, it does have to do with multiple universes. Uh,
Berenstein Bears.
yeah, so also he reveals, which I just think is a interesting little side note, that they all know who Mr. Manhattan is. So or Dr. Manhattan. They all know who Dr. Manhattan is and kind of what his ploy was in the DC universe and what he was messing with and stuff. So I don't know if that's going to be revealed later in Dark Crisis or how that is, but uh this really does address a lot of previous storylines as well. But meanwhile, in the Flashpoint universe, we finally get a fight between Thomas Wayne Batman and Martha Wayne Joker, which is it feels like it's been a long time coming. Plus, Martha Joker reveals something very interesting, and that is the Joker's real name. Now, this could be just in the Flashpoint universe, but the traditional Joker, we find out about his origin and who he really is. So it basically gives Joker a new name. And yeah, all that is heading into the final issue. There's a lot more going on, but that is the highlights from Flashpoint Beyond. And we've got some variants for this as well. So we've got the Zeromenko variant with Martha Joker. And we have a 1 in 25 Collins variants that we're selling to our customers.
All right. Also out this Tuesday, I read New Champion of Shazam #2, Mary Marvel's first solo series. So in this second issue, she is trying to juggle a lot of things, and
A lot of people.
that's what it shows. She says, "School, family, powers, bring it all on," and I mean that is exactly what this issue is. So as of last issue, there was a monster that just sort of appeared out of nowhere. She fought it. She finds out her parents have just vanished. Okay, they've been abducted in some way. Well, in this issue, Mary, she goes home from college. She's trying to run the family. She's trying to get help from her siblings who all have their own lives and deals. You know, they're all younger than her, but they're all at critical points in their schooling.
Mhm.
None of them have powers, so they're just pretty much tell her, "Look, sorry, the power of Shazam was given to you. You have to deal with this." So she's trying to get help from them while also she has to run the family while her parents are gone. Then there's the monsters that keep appearing. And then there's the fact that she's still trying to go to college. She just started college. So she's juggling all this stuff. Meanwhile, these sort of featureless, dark humanoids here. And you'll have to read for yourself to part with them. But it seems like they may have something to do with these monster appearances. Are they good? Are they evil? It's really hard to tell right now. Give it a read, see what you think. That's all the things that she's juggling in the second issue of New Champion of Shazam miniseries. And then there's this really cool Dan Hip variant for it with her and her rabbit. The rabbit's in it quite a bit. As again,
And this is the one where there's all that hidden stuff inside her sweater.
I see that. Yep.
Very cool. And this is a book that I don't want people to miss this week because, man, this series continues to be great. This is Ghost Rider #6. And as you can see, does it say versus Wolverine? Yeah, there's no real versus Wolverine like we kind of expected. So in the last issue was that big race, that wacky races that they did, and Johnny Blaze got heavily injured, and now it is up to Wolverine.
I almost thought you were going to say heavily intoxicated. It's like, no,
Also,
don't do that, Johnny Blaze, in the race.
So in this one, Wolverine is carrying a very injured Johnny Blaze to where he thinks he can help him recover. It's a bar. And what I think is so great about this is very Evil Dead, as Wolverine finds out that Johnny Blaze has that thing growing on his head. You know, sometimes it's an eyeball, but it's a very gross, weird kind of parasite that is attached to Johnny. And Wolverine takes upon himself to do the surgery using some alcohol, a lighter, and just one of his claws, and he's going to go digging. So if that sounds horrible and disturbing, that's just where this begins as Wolverine attempts to get this thing out of Johnny. It is really gross, but in that kind of like you can't look away version, because that's not all that happens in this. There's some other stuff. But this actually resolves a pretty big story arc that's been going on for these 6 issues. So it definitely feels like the end of the first story arc. And my biggest thing is I really hope Wolverine stays around for a while, because this duo of Ghost Rider and Wolverine is great. I want that to keep going. I want them to, travel cross country together because they work so well together.
That's half of the Midnight Suns,
Yep.
half of the new Fantastic Four, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So they've got a history, and you can
Yeah.
also tell that in this, the way that Wolverine talks to Johnny, and he understands him, and he understands like what I'm about to do is going to hurt, but I've got to do this.
I guess with
thing.
Midnight Suns, it was Dan Catch.
Yeah. I think both of them, but Wolverine's worked with some Ghost Riders in his day.
Yeah.
So definitely don't miss out on Ghost Rider #6. It's our A cover. Then we have our Romero variant. Really cool. And we have our Berens variant as well.
All right, so check out this one I'm going to tell you about. This is one of my favorite reads of the week. I like how wild comics can get. So this is Black Panther #9, and check it out. It says, "Enter the Colonialist." So this has the first appearance of a new villain called the Colonialist, who is a space entity with an entourage. And basically, he is looking for just sort of a plot of land for his evil, crazy creatures to graze on. And he is translated very poorly through a translator. And one by one, he addresses each of the Avengers and he stereotypes each one at a time. I mean, this guy, he's just no good. Yet at the same time, he tries to be like he's nice. He tries to use sort of a silver tongue to be like, oh, we'll work this out. Don't worry. I mean, he just exudes like evil. Um, but in a very I don't know, like in a very trickster, but he looks down on you, but he won't just say it to your face way. This also has the first appearance of his head enforcer, appears right at the end, who is called the Buffalo Soldier. So we're talking guy on a huge buffalo with a big gun, just wild, just crazy character designs. So of course, the space entity comes to the Avengers, being like, "Hey, can I use a bunch of your planet to do this?" And he stereotypes them one at a time. I will not even repeat what he says. You'll have to read it for yourself. Black Panther will have none of this. Like T'Challa's like, in fact, his name is not the colonialist. That is what T'Challa calls him.
Oh,
Okay, he
yeah.
coins that name. But at the same time, Captain America won't have any of this either.
Yeah.
Okay, the Avengers are all like, this is not good. The problem is this entity is very powerful. For one thing, he could totally cloak himself where the Avengers can't tell where he is or where he's gone. He has the power to move or teleport where they can't really track him. It's hard to know what his powers are, but he is powerful. Once again, he has an entourage. Part of his entourage appears to be enslaved. I'll just say that straight up. Like they are not happy about it. They're saying in their alien language, "Help us." So I think it's a very strong villain.
Yeah.
I really do. He's somebody you could really hate and get behind and be like, this guy sucks.
I like when you have just an out and out villain.
Yes. So I thought this issue was really good. Can't wait to see where this goes. Just wild issue. I want to see more of this in comics. Just a strong villain you can really dislike, and the characters can really just go off on. So here is the variant. This is the Manhanini variant. Probably the comic that just most surprised me this week.
Yeah. And for me, I've got the longest title, Black Adam presents Justice League Files Atom Smasher #1. So like all of these, this is a tie-in with the new movie written by Cavan Scott. This one we're exploring Atom Smasher, which I think is really cool because he's a character I really like back from reading him during Jeff Johns' JSA and Justice Society series. And this, what I think is also cool about this book is it's kind of revealing to you slowly about the new cinematic universe that DC is building. Like who has existed in here. In one issue we saw that Gentleman Ghost was apparently a character in this. And in this one, we see Atom Smasher talking to his uncle, which is Al Pratt, the original Atom from the Justice Society. So this is kind of a generational thing. And we have Atom Smasher who can, of course, grow in size, and he wants to be a hero. He kind of wants to follow in the footsteps of the Justice Society, but maybe he's not fully prepared for it. He tries to make his own costume. It's very much like Spider-Man making his first costume. It's just a ski mask and like a hoodie. But in this, we see him take on some villains and end up kind of where I think we're going to see him in the movie. So really fun issue, plus that backup story about young Black Adam. This is our A cover. And we have our variant right here, which is the photo cover.
Okay, so I read Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles issue 132. So it's linked with the Armageddon game, but really this is a direct lead in. I mean, this issue literally at the end says to be continued in Armageddon game #1. So if you're about to read that, you probably want to check this one out. It's a good issue to boot anyhow. So the cover, we have the Ghost of Splinter there. he does appear in this issue. It's a very
Mm.
important scene with the Ghost of Splinter and appearing to the Five Turtles. So what this is about is you have Oroku Sakai, or Saki, Oroku Saki, I believe,
Rokusaki, yeah.
is how to say his name, which is Shredder, but he no longer is Shredder. Now he's just Oroku Saki, and he is advising the turtles. He's training them. He trains them as a team, all five of them together. But more important and the better scenes are, you get, I think, like a 2-page where he trains each turtle individually and he tells them things that he doesn't feel they know about themselves. Just, I mean, that's just great to read.
That is really great, yeah.
And Splinter's ghost does appear, and he talks to the turtles about this too, and you get his take on how he feels about the whole thing. The other thing is, this is a Leonardo centric issue because Leonardo is having trouble. He's really worried about his own leadership, that he is letting them get trained by the guy who was formerly their greatest enemy. So you get to see how that goes down as well. But the issue will be continued in Armageddon Game #1. Very cool issue of Turtles. I mean, Turtles just has some strong writing going on, some strong things going on in it, including their variant cover. Check out this Kevin Eastman variant. They're never in time for people to order before the orders are due, but they do not disappoint.
I was about to say, like, it's a safe bet to go ahead and order those without seeing them because they're all so good.
Yep.
And lastly, for me, we have Axe. I have to think about it every time I say it. Do I say Axe or do I say Avengers, X-Men, Eternals, Death to the Mutants #2? So this one, not a whole lot to say about this if you haven't been reading the main series. In this one, we do get a few more characters being judged by the I guess resurrected Celestial that Tony Stark did, and then now he regrets. They've got 24 hours, and it's going to judge everybody. So we get some more of those judgments in here, and you know, no spoiler, Captain America a few issues ago got a thumbs down, and someone even brings that up about if Captain America got it thumbs down, it's not looking good for most of us, and we see some pretty big, regular people and mutants and Eternals get their judgments as well. And what I thought was interesting, there's even kind of a graph like some of these books do, and it shows what are the odds of different mutants. What's the percentage they're going to be judged good or bad? And it's funny to look at those and kind of make your own estimates on it. But it's mostly about that and some of the big battles that are going on during that. At the same time, this book and the regular Axe Judgment Day feel pretty much like they just run together. There's not a whole lot of distinguishing what's the difference between the two. So if you're reading one, I suggest you read both because I think you're going to be getting a lot of that same story. And also, Star Fox is in this one, which they're really bringing him back in a big way. We're going to be getting that one shot coming up. So that is Avengers, X-Men, Eternals, Death to the Mutants #2, and we have this really cool Ramos variant.
All right, so that is our show for this week. We went through 21 comics, all their variants and incentives. We told you what's going on in them, first appearances, all the major stuff. We think we have gotten you prepared for when you go in your comic store, whatever day of the week you go. So thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed the show, if we've helped you at all, please hit the subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube. We keep gaining subscribers little by little. We appreciate that. We will be back Friday with Comics from the Future, where we'll go over all the latest comics that are available to order. If you want to see Megan, our co-host for that, she will tonight at 7 o'clock on Whatnot. She'll be selling comics. And until then, have a great week. Read some comics. And I'm going to get this little video stuttering problem sorted out by next time.
And leave a
So
comment and let us know, what did you learn from this? I think that would be interesting. What information maybe changed your mind of one of these books? I think that would be, because that's kind of what we're here for. I'd love to read about some of those.
absolutely. So thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.